All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for sharing your Saturday morning with us here at Baylor Virtual Premier. My name is David Humphrey. I'm an admissions counselor for undergraduate admissions at Baylor, and I'm excited to be here to kind of moderate our Hankemer School of Business session. We've got some great presenters, and students will be able to answer any questions that y'all may have as well. Y'all should be able to see the Q&A function. I'm sure y'all are familiar with it by now with this third session. But with that, if you do have any questions, feel free to send those in during the presentation. We'll also have some time for questions at the end, but I'll go ahead and hand it over to our lead presenters today for the session. We've got Amy Rhodes and Dean Krista Howell. Dean Howell, would you like to go ahead and get us started?
Sure. So I'm Krista Howell, and I'm the Assistant Dean here in the Business School. And Amy Rhodes is our Assistant Director for Recruitment, and she is also an academic advisor in the Business School. We also have some other advisors on the Q&A as well as students. So as we're talking, if you think of questions, go ahead and put those in there, and they will do their best to answer them. We will also have a Q&A time at the end of this session. So let's go ahead and get started and talk about the Business School. Now, students, when you decide to apply for a job someday, you're going to want to look at the mission statement of the company where you will be working. This also applies to universities. Look at their mission statement and see if the values that they have are also the values that you possess and that what you're looking for. So here's the Hankemer School of Business mission statement. You can see that we are trying to grow up leaders in the global marketplace, and that our Christian values are very important to us. And we are guided by those Christian values. And you can see some of the ones that are listed here, but we think they are so important that we actually etch them into the pillars that are in our building down in the atrium. And so you can see in this picture over on the right, you can see a couple of those pillars where it says learning and impact. And this building is absolutely beautiful. We built it in 2015. We moved in, and you can see that it's basically the students' home away from home. It's fun to be up here in the evenings or in the weekends, and you can see all of the students out studying and enjoying each other. There's also team rooms that jet out over the atrium. So this building was made for students. There are many group projects when you enter a business school. And so there are places, these team rooms, there's 32 of them throughout the building that you can reserve, and you can work on your group projects. It has all the technology that you need to work your presentations. And so it's a beautiful place. If you have not been here to visit, I highly recommend that you come and see our building. Now, we also have some very dedicated faculty and staff here in the business school. You know, Baylor has a wonderful reputation and the size. It's unusual to have a university of our size give so much attention to the students from the faculty. They are very connected with their students. As the assistant dean, I will have students come in that are concerned about things, and faculty members come and check on them. And so parents, Amy and I are both parents of Baylor Bears, and we know how important it is that you want the faculty to care about your student, and they really do here in the business school. We also have small class sizes compared to many universities. And so if you go into the rooms here in the business school, most of our rooms seat 40 or less. And so you know that those professors are going to get to know you as a student. I love being able to learn from the students. The students come and they are very engaged with each other. And so as a professor, I learn from them as well as them learning from me. So I'm going to turn this over to Amy, and she's going to tell you a little bit more about the BBA degree and also some of our special programs.
Yes, thanks, Dean Howell. We're so glad to have you guys here with us today. So let me tell you a little bit about the degree plan at Baylor, should you decide to come to Baylor, major in business, and some special things that might help you make it more individual for you. So you'll see here we have 14 different business majors or tracks that you can choose from just here in the business school, and 2 certificates. Now, as you're looking around at different schools, I think you're going to find this is a lot of choices. And a lot of our students that have graduated or are graduating, when they look back, they say this was one of the main things that really meant a lot to them, because they could choose several different areas of study. They knew that they were going to find at least one thing that really captured their imagination and brought them some joy. And so these are options for all of our students, and many of them are highly specialized. but others are more broad where you can customize it with your electives. And so we find that our students really enjoy having multiple options open to them. Because of that, a good number of our students will end up double majoring in the business school, or maybe doing a minor, which would be anything outside your main area of study, maybe outside the business school. And it's not difficult to do this in a 4-year time frame with normal class loads. And so you don't need to be in any particular honors program in order to do more than one of these majors. We also have a couple of special programs for our high ability students that they can possibly accelerate or customize their plan even more. And I'll tell you more about that later. But you can see all the different majors that we offer. And some of them will be some that you would see anywhere, and they are highly regarded at Baylor as well. Maybe they're broader in nature, and you can, as I mentioned, choose electives to make it more your own. But then you're also going to see some on here that are highly specialized. And these are our specialty majors that were created by faculty. In many instances, they saw a void in the marketplace, and then they went out and created a major to fill a particular void. So for some students, it's a bullseye for exactly what they want to do, which is very, very exciting. And then others might choose a more broad type major or pair two together. Like I mentioned, you might have a very specific major and something of a broader nature. You can combine and think about these in whatever way you like to personalize your degree plan. Now, if you want to find out more details about all 13 of these that are on this slide, we have an option every Wednesday at 4 p.m. We have something called a Meet Your Major event at 4 p.m. Central Time for those of you that are in different time zones. And I believe our advisors are going to put information about how you can sign up for that in the chat. And we will go through and talk about all these majors and talk in more detail about some of the things you're hearing about today that we can't cover in the interest of time. And you'll be talking to some current Baylor students that are about to graduate. So it's really a great time to be able to gather more information if you would like to sign up for that. These are the 2 certificates that we offer in addition to the majors that I mentioned. And so this is a way to kind of, again, personalize your area of study and make it your own. We have an energy commerce certificate. So if you think you might want to go into the energy industry, this is a great way to enhance your degree plan. And then a very popular one, our business analytics certificate. And what we're finding is as our students are graduating and leaving Baylor, they're needing to know how to manage big data more and more in the marketplace. And so this is a great way to add on something on that will really give you those skills to help know how to manage big data. Now, as I mentioned, I can't go through all 13 majors with you today, but I'm going to hit some highlights because we get questions about these 4 in particular a lot of times. And so let me tell you a few program highlights here in the business school. Our accounting program is outstanding and has been a benchmark program for us for many, many years. In the past 2 years in particular, we've had the #1 CPA pass rate in Texas for those that have been doing our 5-year program and graduating with their master's degree in order to go out and be certified public accountants. So our students in the accounting program can either graduate in 4 years with the BBA, or they're allowed to bridge over if they're accepted into the grad program and can accomplish getting a BBA and a master's in a 5-year, maybe even shorter, we'll talk about that later, time frame, and have 2 degrees when they graduate. And about 60% of our students do go into public accounting, and so this is a fantastic tool for them. Our entrepreneurship and corporate innovation major is also one that we consistently are recognized for. I believe we're #6 this year, ranked in US News and World Report and the Princeton Review, but we've been in the top 10 since I've been here, which is 12 years. And so what I really love about this major is it is not new. It's over 40 years old. And so it's had a lot of opportunity to develop a lot of hands-on opportunities for our students to apply some entrepreneurship skills that they're learning. Now, it's not only your true entrepreneurs in this major. Some are taking it on to know how to think innovatively in a corporate setting or how to bring technology to market that's not their own idea. Others are taking electives on how to run a family business, or we, as Dean Howell mentioned, we're really true to our mission here, and we have a lot of mission-minded students. And so some will take classes in social entrepreneurship to learn how to develop business in underrepresented areas of our country or around the world. So the diverse ways that this major is used has made it really fantastic, and all of those hands-on opportunities that you can get and the outside help from what they would call a serial entrepreneur and board of directors to help with all of that growth. The sports strategy and sales major is one, it's an area of emphasis in the marketing major. And it's the only place in the country that you can specialize in sports marketing. So this again has been around a long time. I think the first graduating class was in '06. And so we've had a lot of time to develop extremely strong connections with NFL, NBA, and MLB teams, pro soccer, pro hockey, premier soccer around the world over the last many years. And so our students intern and are able to break into an industry that is very difficult to break into normally. And we have those very, very strong connections. They're studying either sales or data analytics for sports marketing. And then finally, professional selling. It's not the only place in the country where you can study to be a professional sales executive, but I would argue it's probably the best, because we have a very integrated program where our students are able to do a lot of professional development at the undergrad level that you might actually get in a corporate setting. And it's allowing them to step in upon graduation and handle some very large business-to-business sales accounts. And as a recent undergrad, sometimes you can't break in and handle some of those major accounts with just a limited amount of sales training. And so this program we have found to be extremely successful in helping people really jump up into handling some very important relationships and corporate to corporate relationships. So very exciting things going on in those areas. Now, I did mention we have a couple of ways for you to make your degree plan a little bit more accelerated or individualized. And these are the two ways that I wanted you to know about. First of all, Baylor Business Fellows is not a new program. These are both application-based for our high ability students. But the Baylor Business Fellows has been around for a while, and it was designed for students that really had interests not only in business and they wanted a BBA degree, but they have interests outside the business school as well. And so these students will actually go 4 levels deep in a particular area of study. Maybe it's science or calculus or a language. And so in exchange for amping up their rigor quite significantly, they are given more flexibility and able to individualize their degree plan in order to fit in some of those disciplinary interests that maybe aren't in the business school. Now, another program we have, very exciting, is our application-based program, Hankomer Scholars. And this is a fairly new program, and we designed it because we saw a lot of people that were interested in fellows, but really it wasn't suiting them exactly. And what they wanted was more of a traditional BBA degree plan, but they were capable of accelerating some of the classes that they needed prior to starting their major and could handle that and wanted to increase the pace so that they were able to go and jump into some of our major classes in a particular area of study earlier. So if you're interested in either one of these, you're going to be able to find the information on our website, and we'll have some links. But we're finding with Hankomer Scholars, with their traditional student, it's not uncommon for our regular pre-business students to be able to double major and do more than one. But for our Hankomer Scholars, we're expecting them to be able to possibly do 3 majors or 2 majors and a minor, and pursue a lot of different interests in that 4-year time frame. So if you're interested in applying to these on your Go Baylor account, when you first apply to Baylor, the Hankomer Scholars information may populate automatically, but if not, you can go to our website and apply there. We can't actually see your application till you're admitted to Baylor, but all the information should be there. And then the Baylor Business Fellows, you would go through Baylor Business Fellows website to apply with them. And we'll have some links for that at the end as well. So just to summarize, we have 3 different types of business students in the business school. One of the wonderful things about Baylor is when you are applied to Baylor and you're accepted to Baylor, you do not need to wait to see if you're allowed to be a business student. anyone can be pre-business if they are accepted to Baylor. So you don't have to wait and get another acceptance from us. We believe that we can help you figure out if it's the right place for you while you're here. And so anyone can be pre-business and follow the traditional degree plan. And they'll typically start their major end of their sophomore year, depending on how much credit they bring in, but typically end of sophomore year. But then if you would like to accelerate that pace, maybe think about applying to Hankem or Scholars. You're still following a traditional degree plan, but we have compressed a little bit of the material, and you could potentially start your major. You will be doing at the end of your freshman year. And then finally, the fellows, if you really just want to individualize things as much as possible and you don't mind amping up your rigor quite a bit, then that might be the one for you. I do want to cover one other way that you can really enhance your educational experience here at Baylor outside the classroom. I know after the last year and a half, you guys are probably pretty ready to have some adventures. And so if you want to study abroad, Baylor has hundreds of options and a global engagement office to help you narrow that down. There's study abroad fairs going on all the time, but I listed just a few on this slide that really appeal to a lot of our business students. There are countless more opportunities, but if you wanted to study business abroad, these might be some you might be interested in to keep in mind. And then on the right side of the screen, I do want to point out that we have kind of what might be more of a unique opportunity at Baylor, because Dean Howell mentioned our mission statement, and we really do take it seriously. We want to cultivate business leaders of faith that can go out and serve in the global marketplace. And part of that happens here. And we want you to take the business skills that you've learned at Baylor, and if you would like to, have the opportunity to go out and use those business skills to help others around the world or even here domestically. And we think that that's kind of a different idea of missions than maybe you've had before with your youth group or something like that. But what we want is to make sure that as you leave Baylor, you have developed a habit of giving back and sharing your faith in a really special way, in addition to being a very successful business person in the marketplace. So those are some somewhat unique examples of things you might be able to do to expand your global understanding while you're here at Baylor.
Students, when you get here to Baylor, you will be living on campus, and one of the opportunities is to live in the Business and Innovation Living Learning Center. It's basically a group of business students all living together, so you're in class together, as well as living in the residence hall. And so that's just one of the opportunities that you also have as a part of the BBA degree. I also want to tell you that I'm going to be one of your first professors in the business school. I teach a class that's called Business 1101, and it basically gets you started in your career development, as well as choosing a major and how to be successful at Baylor and in the business school. We also have 2 other courses that our career management team here in the business school teaches. One is your sophomore year to help you get an internship, and one is your junior year to be able to be placed into a job upon graduation. You can see our 89% placement rate. That includes students who are going on to graduate school. We had a question in the chat about internships. 80% of our graduating seniors will have an internship by the time they are senior, which also helps with the job placement. We actually have 3,000 interview spots, that which means that we actually have more interview slots than we do students that are filling those slots. So our students are in very high demand in the marketplace, which is extremely important to you as a student and also important to your parents, because they want to see you have a job when you leave here. These are some of the companies that are hiring, just a very small sampling. So you can see our accounting and finance majors, management information systems majors. You see the professional sports team on here. My personal favorite is in the bottom left-hand corner, the Nestle company.
Well, one thing we do know as both Baylor graduates and Baylor parents, and now faculty and staff, we know that if you decide to join us here at Baylor, you're in for the opportunity of a lifetime, truly. And so we wanted to let you hear from one of our current students, so you can actually hear from someone that's here. And so Emma Focarelli, who is on the call, is going to tell you just a little bit about her Baylor experience before we wrap up.
Yes, thank you so much. Good morning, everybody. My name is Emma Focarelli. I am a senior accounting major here at Baylor, and I'm in the 5-year program. So I will be sitting for the CPA hopefully in the next year or so. So that's very exciting. So one of the biggest reasons I chose Baylor is I grew up around the Waco community. So I always kind of was an outsider looking into Baylor. But one of the biggest reasons that drew me here as I got closer to applying was the opportunity for growth. So that's growth personally, professionally, and spiritually. As a business student, like you've heard, we have lots of great opportunities for professional growth through internships, study abroad, things like that. But something that was mentioned that really drew me in was the Christian-based leadership as a business student. And I feel very well prepared going out into the professional workplace now because of my opportunities and my experiences here at Baylor. And I feel I've always felt very supported by my professors, by my advisors, by my friends, and everyone here at Baylor is so encouraging, and they provide a really great support system. And they encourage me to, be the best version of myself, especially as a business leader going out after college. So I would encourage anybody who's somewhat interested in Baylor or even in business, just in general, to look into this program because I'd say it's one of the best there is around. And like we all mentioned, the business school here at Baylor, I think it's the best building on campus. So that was a great factor as well.
Thanks, Emma. And I know the advisors and our students we have in the Q&A have been working really hard to answer some of your questions, but we wanted to save a few minutes at the end for any that we might not be able to answer in the chat. Dean Howell, do you see anything we need to discuss?
One of the things they asked about was double majoring. So I think you said a little bit about that, Amy, but you want to go ahead and mention it again?
Sure. Yeah. So about 50%, maybe 46 to 48% of our students do more than one business major in the business school. And again, that's not with heavy loads or anything like that. And so of all those 13 that I mentioned, you can do more than one. And the only time we really see it to be a problem is maybe if you've changed your major from a different part of the university and you're feeling a little bit behind. So that's a very common benefit of being a Baylor student. But so you can add on as many of those majors as you have room for. Okay, and that's why we're saying scholars maybe have room for 3 or 2 business majors and a minor. A minor is anything outside the business school. So it doesn't mean it takes less time. It means we don't teach it here. So there's lots of opportunity for multiple areas of study. I hope that answers that.
There's also been a number of questions about the business minor. So we might have some students on here that maybe are not thinking about majoring in business, but they want to know a little bit about the minors.
Right. So we have several business minors. And so this would only be for people that have a major completely outside the business school, okay, because the requirements are different. So we have just your regular business administration minor. We also have an entrepreneurship minor because of the popularity of that program, and an economics minor. And so you can major in something else and still get kind of what I would call a lighter version of some of those business classes.
And then there was a question about the transfer work. So how much work you can transfer in prior to coming to Baylor and then after you're here.
Do you want me to answer that, Krista?
Yes.
Okay.
I know the answer, but
so yeah, after you start at Baylor, it's a fancy word called matriculation. That means you've started at Baylor. You can still bring in 5 more classes outside of Baylor as long as they're equivalent. And we have something called the equivalent course tool. And you can see even if your dual credit is already pre-approved on there. So anything that you bring in, dual credit or AP credit, that doesn't count towards those 5. And so you can still do more outside of Baylor after you come. And then in addition to that, we have to make sure any transfer students have at least 60 hours at Baylor. So that's another number that we watch to make sure that if you come in after your sophomore year, you will still, in order to get a Baylor diploma, need 60 hours at least at Baylor.
Do we have time for one more question, David? Okay, one more. So somebody also asked specifically about the certificates and if those were for BBA students only.
They are for BBA students only. Yes, they are. And the characteristic of a certificate is that they're across disciplines. And so that's why they're not a major, because, for example, the data analytics certificate has 3 required classes from our MRS major, which is our management information systems major. And then you choose electives from either economics, marketing analytics, or more MIS. So someone outside the business school would not have the prerequisites they need to be successful in those classes. So those are only for business students. Are we good?
All right. Yes, well, thank you again to our excellent panel and for our students and advisors here today. We're very grateful for this information that you've been able to share. So again, thank you to our attendees as well. Y'all should be able to log out and go back to kind of the main screen. There should be one more session at 12 o'clock, kind of before a little break. So y'all feel free to go over there and log on to the next session. But thank you again, everyone, for being here this morning.
Thanks.
Thanks for coming. Sikkim.